All right, what's up, world? So this your boy Chris Lee, aka Tony Sanger, songwriter, producer, professional audio engineer, owner of United Destiny Entertainment. Check this out. What I'm gonna talk to you guys about today is real important. Um, it's pretty much based, uh, studio based, home studio based, professional studio based, anywhere you record. I'm gonna just give you guys some tips and pointers um, to be able to help you guys get good recordings going in your DAW, Pro Tools, Logic, Reasons, Fruity Loops, Coed Pro, Adobe Audition, whatever that may be. All right. So first thing I want to talk to you guys about. It seems to be still a big issue in a lot of my clientels that I get uh, for recordings and stuff that I need to mix and master for them. The biggest pet peeve that I got right now with a lot of my clients is headphone bleed. All right. So I'm gonna tell you something. I mentioned in some of my other videos that there's two different types of headphones that be really uh, studio based that people normally use. Um, right off the bat, there's open back headphones. Open back headphones are good headphones, but uh, the problem with them is they bleed a lot. Then you got closed back headphones like these KRK 6400s. Um, Closed back headphones, uh, which means in this case that they don't have as much as bleed. Now, if you're blasting the headphone uh, jack or knob, on your interface or whatever you may be using, a headphone app, anything like that, it's still going to pick up some bleed because you're blasting it. But that also means that you're probably killing your ears, which that makes no sense. You don't want to kill your ears, especially if you're an audio engineer. And if you're an artist, then it's important that you don't kill your ears too, because you need to be able to hear yourself sing, your volumes, and stuff like that. So I recommend everybody, if you're the engineer and you're listening through headphones, you might want to get you some closed back headphones as well. But it's okay if you have open back headphones. But as far as your artist, every engineer needs to get a pair of closed back headphones. That way, you got your level on your headphone app or interface, whatever that may be, at a proper level, so that whenever you're recording, there's no sound coming out of the headphones. There's no bleed. Like I said, uh, if the levels is proper, you got the levels at the proper level, then you won't have any headphone bleed going into the microphone. And the reason why that's a bad thing is because when it's time to solo up the vocals and clean them and stuff like that, clean them up and stuff, the problem is that sometimes you cause phase issues. And say, for instance, if I wanted to add a de-esser on somebody's vocals, the de-esser won't work effectively because of the simple fact that you got high frequencies from the music coming out of the headphones bleeding into the microphone. So if your vocals is at a certain frequency that you're trying to de-ess to be able to take out the sibilants or the high S sounds or whatever that may be, uh, then it's going to be hard to control that or make the de-esser work because you got a total different frequency, which is higher frequencies coming from the beat bleeding into the microphone, and that's not what you want. So that's my first tip. All you engineers out there, whether you're professional, somewhere in between, or you're just beginning, first thing you want to do is get you some closed back headphones for sure. Uh, it's a real effective tip when it comes to recording and getting a great recording going inside of Pro Tools. So you want to make sure you get some closed back headphones and adjust the level to where it's not too loud. If the artist kind of like the beat really, really loud, then kind of explain to the artist why it's beneficial not to have the music that loud. Now, you definitely want to have the artist in the zone when he's recording, but at the same time, the client definitely, or the artist definitely wants to be happy with the product, so you need to kind of explain to him why it's beneficial not to have the music so loud. If you put a good compressor on there while they're tracking, uh, that's just a tip that I use. Uh, then it'll boost the level of the vocals, but you don't have to have the music that loud. And most people who like to have the headphones so loud is because they can't hear themselves over the music. So if you put a good compressor on the vocals while they're tracking, say for Pro Tools, in the IO signal chain insert, then that'll prevent them, prevent you from actually cranking the headphones so loud so they can hear themselves. So you turn the beat down just a little bit, put a compressor on there that boosts the level of the compressor, good closed back headphones, and adjust the level on your headphone now. That'll be able to help you get effective recording when you're trying to record into your DAW. That's one tip. Very important tip, so make sure that y'all pay attention to that. Um, the next tip that I want to give you guys is uh, the importance of your distance from the microphone. Um, a lot of people, it really depends on what kind of track you're actually going for. Um, if you want your vocals to be pretty, pick up a lot of low end or the mids, natural proximity effect, you want to get really, really, really close up on the microphone. Say if you're doing voiceover, stuff like that. That's really good stuff to have. Um, but if you want your vocals to sound kind of thin without doing so much EQ, then back up a little bit. I normally want, depending on how high my preamp or my gain is on my preamp, determines how far away I am from the microphone. There's times that I record songs where I'm literally up on a mic, and then there's times where I'm about halfway. Um, and then there's even times where I'm even back further than that when I'm recording. And it all depends on the recording that you're going for. I'm the kind of person I like my vocals to be up front. I like my vocalists to be up front. So I tend to have them somewhere about right here, this distance away from the microphone. Um, I usually like to take at least 3 fingers between the pop filter and the mic, and then take about 3 to 4 fingers uh, on the opposite side and be able to record there and try to give me a proper level. That usually sounds best for me. Um, for every, if it's a song that I want to be real uh, ambient, have like a lot of reverb, and I want to sound distant, then I'm gonna record somewhere back here. Uh, so I'm not so upfront. If I want to sit somewhere behind the beat or somewhere in the middle of the mix, then that's what I'll do. If I naturally want to be right above the mix a little bit, then I'll come up some. And if I really want to be over the beat, the instrumental, then I'll try to really get up on it. That way it's able to pick up the natural lows and mids of my vocals so I don't have to use that EQ inside of a Pro Tools program or DAW, whatever you use. EQ is always important. What a microphone, some microphones carry more uh, of the a boost in the mids and the lows and might lack the highs, and some might carry more in the highs and mids and lack lows. And you can accomplish that and get that fixed inside of Pro Tools or any DAW using the equalizer EQ. That's what it's for. Uh, to be able to cut and boost the frequencies that you either have too much of or that you're missing, you're able to replace them. So it's a real important tip. Um, the next thing that I want to tell, say some of, for vocalists, R&B vocalists, this is a very important tip for you guys. When you guys are tracking vocals and you're singing into the microphone, a good, well-trained artist, vocalist, is able to kind of play as your own natural compressor. We all know what a compressor do. If you don't, I got other videos to talk about it. Um, but a compressor, long story short, in a simple fashion, it'll balance out the highest peaks of your vocals with the lowest peaks of your vocals, kind of balance it out. So say if I'm singing at a natural vocal and some parts I start to whisper, saying softer, the compressor will still be able to balance those out as if I was just singing the same dynamic range the whole entire time. So with that being said, sometimes what's the important key is as a vocalist, R&B, whatever that may be, opera, you can call it whatever you want. When you're singing, if I'm gonna sing soft, it's good to sing closer to the microphone because the microphone is picking up my vocals real natural. But if I know that I'm gonna get louder and change, have a dynamic range change and my vocals get real loud, then it's natural. It's a natural thing. What a good vocalist would do is back up. So if I'm singing la ya 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 ya, like it's natural to wave back and forth to be able to control and balance out some of the dynamic range. So your vocals go inside of Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using more balanced out. It's a real important tip that a lot of people should take pride in and actually do while recording. It'll make your recordings come out a lot more effective. So remember, when you're singing softer, it's okay to stay where you're at and kind of lean in some. When you get louder and louder and louder, you want to pull back just a little bit. You don't want to really move away from the capsule like this way or that way. You just want to kind of pull back a little bit, still stand right in front of the capsule so you're able to pick up your vocals without your vocals sounding like they're fading away or if somebody was recording behind the microphone somewhere. That's not what you want. You want to keep the natural tonality and sound sonically of your vocals going through the capsule of the microphone. So that's a real important tip. The next important tip that I want to talk to you guys about uh, is really just the levels on your interface, your preamp, whatever that may be. A lot of you guys either recording at home yourself or and don't get me wrong, I've been at plenty of professional studios where even some of the engineers who've been engineering there for a while, because I'm a professional audio engineer myself, and when I go to studios and see some of the engineers uh, over compress or have the gain too high or have the preamp too high, whatever it may be, it's like, dude, like, can you not hear the distortion in their vocals because of the simple fact you're recording too hot going in? So you want to make sure that you have a nice balanced level going inside of Pro Tools, Cubase, Cool Edit Pro, Fruity Loops, whatever program that may be that you're recording vocals in. You want to make sure that you have a nice level that isn't too low and isn't too high. You want to find a sweet spot in between. And the reason why that is because if you record a nice vocal that's too loud, if you're trying to record a vocal that's too loud inside of your DAW, DAWs don't have a lot of dynamic range. They're not, they can't go past zero. Uh, the dB full scale, they can't go past zero. It's like that's the peaking point. If you were recording in an analog studio, and everybody knows this, some analog boards, SSL boards, whatever that may be, they can hit plus 12 dB, plus 6 dB, plus 9 dB. But if you don't have that kind of money to go and record in the studio like that, you have your own home studio setup. Um, I would say a great level to go in while you're recording in the Pro Tools on a scale is somewhere between -6 and -10. You want to make sure that your vocals is hitting somewhere in the green, maybe touching yellow just a little bit. But you definitely don't want to be recording in the red. That means you're going in too hot, you're distorted, you're clipping, and that's not what you want, because once you record that into your DAW and you recording at somebody's studio that's not your own, 9 times out of 10, if they aren't professional and don't know what they're doing, they're going to leave your project like that, and you're going to be pretty disappointed, by the way that the sound. So my advice is, if you're using a preamp with the interface, what you want to do is, I like to crank the level on my interface preamp just a little bit for the gain, and for my preamp, the compressor, say for instance, my Focusrite Sapphire Pro 40, I like to crank the gain knob on the preamp on my actual Pro 40 a little bit less than halfway, maybe about, I don't know, about 3-4 notches up. And then I like to use my Avalon, which is a great um, preamp compressor. I like to turn that up. I like to leave that at 0 or boost whatever I need to boost. And the reason why, because with the Avalon 737, the levels come in so strong and hot and just powerful and in your face and up front, I don't want to crank that preamp too much because I'll start clipping and distorting, and that's not what I want. So you kind of want to find a balanced level. If you don't have a preamp and you're just using a regular interface, make sure that your interface is only cranked enough to where it's recording a nice mid-sized vocal inside of your DAW. And then, like I said, if you want to hear yourself louder, hear yourself better, then you just add a compressor to that. Set up your bus tracks, your auxiliary tracks, whatever that may be. Uh, Set it up and send your outputs or your sends to it, whatever you may send to it. Put your compressor on there if you want to put your reverb on there, your EQ on there. Then go ahead and do that because that's what I do. I like to have my preamp set at a certain level going into Pro Tools, but before I record, I like to set up my EQ. I like to set up my compressor and my reverb and my delay before I start recording because it helps me get in the zone. So I don't have to crank the preamp to be able to hear myself real well. I got those compressors inside of the program to be able to compensate for that. So that helps out a lot. So that's a great tip that you guys can use. You guys been wondering how my recordings turn out so good, and I mean, I basically just gave you um, my main factors when it comes to mixing and getting great recordings. It's all about the leveling going in. The better it sounds going inside of your DAW, the less work you got to do when it's coming out. So, and also the better it'll sound coming out. Sounds great going in, it's gonna sound great coming out. After you get it inside of your DAW, it's all about proper EQing, proper compression, proper leveling, balancing things out, stereo image, just basically what you do inside of the program. But a lot of you people who get your material mixed and mastered by me, I hear a lot of your old material before you get it mixed and mastered by me, and I can tell that you're having headphone bleed issues or you're uh, distorted and clipping going into your DAW, or your preamp's too high or your preamp is too low. Uh, the problem with having a preamp too low is I'm sure you guys heard of something called the noise floor. Uh, this is how it is really. Uh, if your preamp is too low and you record a lot of your room noise and all that stuff with it, the thing about it is that when you try to boost and crank that, you're gonna pick up, you're gonna boost and crank all the extra noise inside of the room. It's just the way it is. So you want to make sure that you have a good level going inside of your DAW. It's real important. Make sure that the microphone is nice, loud, and clear. You ain't got no noises going on in the background, and your microphone is picking up a nice, good, clean vocal from you. Leave yourself some headroom anytime you're recording this out of your DAW. Like I said, uh, these DAWs don't let you go past 0 dB without clipping, so you definitely don't want to push it. So leave yourself some headroom. If you get your vocals to be hitting in around, green, yellowish area, then once you add a compressor and stuff like that, it still should leave you around -3 uh, dB. That way you're not clipping and being distorted and stuff like that. So I don't want to make this video too long. It's almost going on 20 minutes already. Um, Shout out to everybody who's been supporting me, all the contests that I've been entering, supporting my music, buying services from me, beats, mixing and mastering, the comments, sharing my videos, add my videos to your favorites. Uh, just man, I thank everybody. I support y'all, and I know you guys support me. I love my fans, and I know my fans love me. So just make sure that you guys continue to support me. Take everything that I said in this video and really try to understand what I'm saying. Make sure you try it at home. These tips will really help your recording. Like I said, the next that comes after that is just proper mixing, mastering, balancing, EQing, the whole 9 yards. That's all based on what you do. But if the better you get it sounding going in, the better it's going to sound coming out. So hope this video helped. Please subscribe. Watch all my other videos. My other videos are really entertaining, very helpful. Uh, you guys just continue to help me out and support me. So thanks a lot, Chris Lee, aka Toonie. Hope this video helped.